But essentially, I'm just going to be going through Skylit. I have June pulled up. The way that I'm going to be running this is essentially like I'm just going through recent price action back in June. I'm only going to be looking at RTH, so the New York session, and just purely trading off nodes. That's it. Hopefully, try to save my XFA next week. 300 from that. Yeah, I mean, dude, I've came back from like $45 drawdown, so 300 you can work it. All right, it looks like we've got like 40 people in here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. So starting out on June 1st, I'm gonna run this for about an hour or so. There will be a giveaway at some point here, so we'll take a little break. We'll run a giveaway. I'll give out 2 Lucid accounts, but yeah, just want to make sure you guys are in here. I don't want to just like run the giveaway immediately, just so people join and then leave. I want you guys to actually like try to learn something out of this. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, just let me know in the chat how to join the giveaway. Well, I'll post a form. I'll post a form link. So there will be that. But I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. I'm on the 1 minute chart here. And yeah, so June 30th, starting out with good karma. You didn't miss anything. This just started. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to play through like the first 5 minutes or so here. So the first thing I'm going to look at is I have this QQQ pulled up. I don't have SPY pulled up. Sometimes those levels are relevant. So just within the first 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes, you can see you have this node building here at 740. So you have a node up at 740. I have the features derived product here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and skip forward to 740 or 940. Sorry. Yeah, 940. Okay, cool. So you can already see there's rejection up here. So I'd be looking to take a short based off that as long as you come back up towards that node. So I'd be wanting to short this in this like 30,450 area. And you can see, okay, like we're right up near this area. So I would look to short this. The nice thing with Skylit is you can essentially limit in on based off nodes. So I'm just gonna place a sell limit there. And then the way you would want to run this is, since there is a negative node above here, it's not that big of a negative node. You'd want to essentially run your stop to that next node. So if I'm looking at the Skylit chart, I'd probably want my stop above like 80s. I probably have it at like 85. So a little bit wider of a stop. Don't really have a TP on this yet. You could TP down at this 738 level, or you could look for this 380 level. That's kind of where I'd be looking to take first TP, would be 380. If we get through there, then I'd be looking for this 736 area down lower. Okay, and what time is this at? 9:52, so I'm just going to skip forward to 9:52. Okay, let's just see how this works. So we're down at that. We ran through 738, so 736, 735, and 734, they're all negative. So you could expect this to run down towards this 734 area. That's what I'd be looking for since it's all negative exposure. You're going to get a big drop here. So 214 would be like final TP on this. 215, just gonna mark that out. But I would just mark out each of these nodes here where you've got 300 and then 253. You also have previous day low sitting down there at 270s. So this is playing out nicely. You would adjust stop in here. So you just trail this. I'd probably be trailed in profit where that first TP was. If I'm looking at, what time is this at? 10. Okay, we're right about the same time. I'd just be looking for this to flush into these negative nodes and dump down. Okay, so it trailed me out. That's fine. This based out at 10:03. So see if there's anything at 10:03. That 7:34 node's lighting up. So I think this might have just trailed me a little early. I mean, that's fine. Like that's already a good trade. Like that's a 2-to-1 easily. And then if we're looking, so this exposure pulls off, your king node flips up to 742. So I'd be seeing if we can potentially push past this 739 area and then use that 739, 740 area and use that as a base. So as this goes up, let's just see what happens. Okay, so we're hitting that 738. Looks like that exposure is pulling off a little bit. I'd like to see this push through and then use it as a base, since there was a failed breakdown. Okay, so right at 1050. And 50. Where are we at? 1048. So right around this 1050 area, this is where I'd be looking to potentially like long this with a tight stop. So I'd be long here, probably just with my stop under this, like where you've got this little bit of structure. This 5 minutes not great, but you know, that's like, this to me is reasonable. If you're looking for this breakout towards 742, you would also need 740 to break, but the exposure is pulled off there. So your king node's up at 742, which is going to be that 30,543 area. So I'd be looking for this to run up to here. So this is a 3-to-1. Let's just see how it plays out. Okay, clean. Yeah, runs right to that king node. So you can see that just based off how the, like if you're scrolling back here, you can see that 742's been there. It's been sitting there since, what, that 742 node's been sitting there since like 1020. So you should pull up if you're looking at SPY as well, right? This is flipping between 753 and 759 as the king node, and then 7600 on SPX. So as long as, and this 755 also flips up. So this should hold as support in here. I'd like to see that hold as support and just start to trend up towards that 759 area. And then this does hit 742. What's your confluences to enter long? No, I'm just gonna look at, all I'm gonna look at is QQQ and NQ, Garma. No, this is the pro package. What's the confluences to enter long? It's literally just based off the gamma. Like all I'm looking at is the gamma. I'm not looking at anything besides that. So Garma, you said short the 742 node. So as we come up there, yeah, you have 737 flip down. You still have 759 on SPY here. So I'd be a little bit cautious on shorting this just because SPY could continue to rip up. I'd wait to see if there's any like resistance up here. And you can see, yeah, the 742 flipped up. If this pulls down to that 741, you should sell off at least to that 740, retest that IB high there. So what time is this at? This is at 11:45. So I'm just gonna go forward to 11:45. Okay, so we're at 11:44. And if you short this, I'd probably be pretty tight on the stop here. Like maybe slightly above these highs, just give this a 30-point stop. And I just want this to pull down towards 458. So I wouldn't be going for like a crazy TP. I'd just be looking for a pullback down towards that IB high. You do have a node sitting right there. It's grown and shrunk. The only caution I would have here is SPY could continue to push up. But we are sitting at that 757 node. You could see some rejection back down here. There you go. Perfect. And you could tighten stop here as well. Like I would be tight on the stop there. There's your IV30 hit. Okay, and then based off this, since we rejected off this 742 node, there's not really anything else on here that I see. You could maybe play it off the 740. but I wouldn't look for that 742 to be revisited. It does get revisited and then pushed through. But I'd probably call it there, where it's like, okay, I've already had 3 good trades. See if this 742 holds. Yeah, this is just gonna chop now. It's just gonna chop between like 742 and these upper nodes. Actually, this just pumps like crazy. So you could play it off the 742 node, but like the reason I say that might chop there is if you look at last Friday's price action, you had something very similar where you have a node at the, like you have a big node where we just chopped around it. Yeah, I'm recording it. If we get above 742, this just legit fine to 748. 748's crazy, bro. Like you're sitting up at this 760. Does this hit 748? There's no way, bro. No, this is also late in the session. 748 would be a crazy TP on that. I would call it there after like three or 4 good trades. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the next day. Just skip through this. You could play it off that 428 node. I would just kind of call it. I'd be like, okay, I've already had 3 good trades. We could just chop around. Okay, so going into next day. Okay, so this is first 5-minute candle. I'm just gonna hop down to 1 minute here. So this is 10:30 or 9:39. Okay, so what do we have here? At 740, there's a negative node. You also have a cap on SPY at 758. If it does push above that 758, this is a reverse rug, so this should fly. But SPX is also has its king node lower. So this is kind of a mixed bag, where if 739 doesn't support, then I'd be looking to take this down towards that 734 because you do have an air pocket in here. So if we see 739 holds, then you could play to the upside. All right, so that 739 does hold. You're hitting that 758 on SPY. So I'd potentially look for a short rejection here. There's not really anything on NQ yet. We're hitting that 744. So I'd potentially try a short in here. Just to play this back down towards that 739 node. You do have a ceiling on SPX and on SPY here. So what time is this at? It's at 10. Okay, so right at 10. Okay, so I'd potentially short this at 10:02. And I'd just be looking, I'd have a stop like up at these highs. I'd be looking just to play this back down towards like this low, just based off the SPY nodes. What's the topic about Skylit? I'm just backtesting it. I'm just going through and backtesting. What's the difference between this and Mentor Q? This is live data. Like it updates every what 5 seconds, I think, or every second. The calculations are also different. Okay, so let's just see how this plays out. I get stopped. Does it run down? Comes down to VWAP. So that one's a stop out. That's okay. I would expect this SPY node to hold up, which it looks like it does. It looks like SPY holds up, but you start tapping into that negative exposure. And then if this gets above this 744, there's not really anything above here. So this could just rip all the way up to 748. Or that previous day, above previous day high. Yeah, you can see 748 is getting built out. So there's not really anything I'd take here unless you come back down to that 744 node. And off this 744 node, what I'd be looking for is a strong bounce or a flush through here. So you'd be looking to either take the break. Okay, yeah, this looks like it's going to flush here. Because now you have a cap at 745. So I'd try this short again at 1245 here. Let me just get through this. because this built out. You do have support on SPY at 758, so it's a little bit sketchy of a short, but you can be tight on the stop. Okay, so here you do have a node at 659, so you could be pretty tight on this stop. I'd be okay taking this short. I wouldn't really want to see this come back up, just because you do have that SPY support at 758, but this could play down towards 742, which was right where this wicked out. So I'd be looking to play this down towards this area. Let's see. Nope, I just get stop ran. Does this end up playing out? Okay, it does play out. It does play out. It just ran my stop beforehand. I just look for this node to hold. So 2 stop outs on this day. Probably call it a day there. This went up and retested 746. This isn't king node or anything. So just a little early on that short. You can see this does develop into king node though. All right, it flips up right here. Right, so you could look for rejection there, and then for this to rip through this low at 744 and head back down to 742. That's what I'd be looking for. I mean, it does play out. It's just I was a little early on the short. And you can see this node starts building out at 744. So you could take this again, or sorry, 745. You could take this again. Try it again at, what is that, 145. But 2 stop outs, probably call it a day there. Maybe that's a misread on my part. I probably shouldn't short it based off how big that SPY node is at 758. Gonna go into the next day here. What's Skylight? Skylight, it's a gamma exposure tool. Okay, so there's your open. Okay, so right at the open, okay, this is a crazy open. You could play the bounce off 745. It's just like this open is wild. And if this dumps below 745, like there's an air pocket all the way down to 740. So I'd be a little cautious here. But you could try to play this off 660s. It's just, yeah. Once it gets through this 660 area, it dumps through that air pocket. That was 100% news. When looking at SPX, yeah, you can. You can. It's like you should be looking at all 3 of them. So like that short I took the previous day, maybe it doesn't make sense because there's a node on SPY that defends. Right. So this just rips through that 745 node. You could play the break here. All right. As this breaks through here, you could play the break. It's just it happens very quickly. And this price action is crazy. So since we're in this air pocket, I wouldn't really play anything unless you get back up towards that 745 node and see if you reject off it. So it's coming up towards it. You also have a cap on SPY at 757. So you could potentially play a short here. You're also sitting right at, this should be right at the golden pocket. So at 1010. Yeah, look at that dump. That's crazy. You're also probably, yeah, you're right up at VWAP. Okay, so you could potentially play this short here at 663s, 657 in there. You could try to short this. The only thing is, so you have a cap on SPY. The next node down is 742. So you would just be looking for a quick scalp here where you're essentially looking to take this back down towards that 535 area. And your stop, there's not really a good spot for a stop in my opinion. I'd kind of just give this some room. Since the price action is crazy, I'd give this like a 40-point stop. Stopped out again. Does this rip down? No. this is up here. This pushes through it very quickly, and then it uses it as a base, so your floor rolls up. So when you get stopped out on that, like, you could potentially play this long. You could say, okay, the short didn't work. This is holding. You're also right at VWAP, so you could take this long. You could flip to longs here. Since there's only really one node here, and you have SPY pointing to the upside, you could play that. Back up higher. And no, this is kind of cooked, honestly. Like, none of these nodes hold. And this does happen. I've seen this happen where, like, you think nodes will hold and they just don't. You do break below this and then tap into it. So you could potentially short there. It's just tricky. Like, when the map's like that, where you only have, like, one big node, to me, it's a little sketch sometimes. What about SPY? I'm only looking at NQ. I'm only looking at NQ with this backtest. And then, is there anything later in the day? You could try this off 744. Try this short off 744 here. There is a pull on SPY up to 757. And if you're looking at this from, what time is this at? This is at 1. So let me just skip forward a bit. I remember June, like, the price action was crazy. So what time is this at? 1:45. Okay. So this is kind of an awkward spot because you don't have an IB low break. You also don't have an IB high break. So you're in an awkward spot where, like, neither side has broken. So you don't have initiative to, like, go take out this low or go take out this high. This is an awkward day. You also have a pull higher on SPY here. I'd potentially look at a short here. Just based off where this node's sitting at. But, like, based off the breaks you've had, yeah, like, this just rips through that node. Heads up towards 745, where that king node is. I said 745, right? Not 744. I misread this. So that's 745. That's where you'd look to short it. Yeah, and it's derived here at 662. So you'd short this here. And then you have a little bit more structure to base where your stop is at compared to that other short. And here, you could just ping pong this between these two nodes, this 744, 745, just for quick scalps. You could also look for this to break that 744. Just based off the nature of, like, how this is trading. Like, you don't have a break in either direction. It's a little sketch. Like, this is sketchy, in my opinion. But if this does break, this 744, if this does break, then I'd be looking to take this down towards this IB low. Because everything on IB is pointing towards downside. So you could try this here. It's just, yeah, it stops you out. And then it does go the correct direction. But like I was saying, like, you could just also play scalps between these two nodes here. Where you're just shorting when it hits 745 and you're TPing at 744. And then you just short as it comes back up to that node again. It wicks and then dumps back down towards that 744. So if I use Mentor Q, I would pay attention to QQQ. I'd watch QQQ for sure. Okay, let me go to next day. Okay, so we already have, what, 15 minutes of price action? 30 minutes? Okay. So again, like, this is like, this map is awkward. Like, the maps in June, these aren't as clean. I'd look for a potential cap at 755 on SPY. I'm actually going to change this from NQ to SPY here, just because it's arrived, just so you get a better picture of it. Because you can play SPY nodes You can play SPY nodes. What did I just do? Did I just break this? Okay, cool. You can play off SPY nodes on QQQ. Okay, so you have a cap at 755, so I'd just be looking for a push up towards that 755 to short this. Let's see if anything changes on this map. Okay, so you have a floor forming at 736 on Qs. You could long this up towards, yeah, this long starts playing out. So this 736 starts forming. You could play this up towards 740s. So essentially what you would look for here is, when does this floor form? This is at 1040. Okay. So at 1040, you'd be looking to long this. If you can get in as close to this node as you can, that's ideal. Also, your price action, like you're holding above VWAP. So if you can get in at this 300 area, and like obviously we already know what happens, but I said like I'd be looking to play this up towards this 740. I don't know exactly what that level is, but you'd essentially watch this and see like, okay, yeah, this rips right to that 740. So what's that at? 1110. And you'd trail stop here. So at 1110, like you'd probably be getting out of this. It's a 2-to-1, but like you trail your stop up to where this base is out at. This is very similar to a setup I saw on Friday, where essentially I called this out. Like you've got this floor. You've got this floor that forms on 729, and then you do push up at end of day. You push up at end of day once the cap gets removed on that. Would you look for a reaction off 740? What I'd look for on 740 here is you have a reverse rug up here. So if this does get through 740, it's going to fly up towards that 743 node. You could look for a short here, though. You could potentially look for a short. It just depends on the reaction. So this isn't like... This, to me, like, if you get through the 740, it's just going to fly. Yeah. So it tries to push it. Tries it again. And then this should push up to 742. It's just very slow. Yeah. So initially there is a reaction off that 740 level. So you could short this. The one thing I would say, like, if you're using IB, your alignment would be, like, I just want to long. I want to look for areas to long because the IB high broke here, right? So your IB high has broken to the upside. So I want to look to long this somewhere. Where can I look to long this at? Well, I would wait till you see this recovery back above here, or you could wait till it gets above that 740 again, and then long off that 740 area. Looked risky to short that? Yeah. So that bounces there, and then once this gets above that 740, you could see, okay, this is defending in this area, this 430 area, 440 area, and you could look to take the long off that 740 up towards that 742. So if you do long that, like you'd be looking for 742, which should be like up towards that 560 area. Once this holds. Where's this at? Where does this hit at? 30. Yeah, so you just take this up to like this 520 area. I wouldn't really take it past there just because like you can see this starts to stall out here. It's stalling a little bit. Also on SPY, you do have pulls higher on SPY, so like this could grind up towards that 743 node. And then once you get above there, there's not really that much. So you could play this as an expansion play. It's just you would want to trail stops. So like once this gets up to that 742, I want to gauge, okay, does this react at 742? No, there's one bit of selling in here. This is why it's good to pair order flow with this, because you can see like, okay, there's a reaction off this node initially, but do sellers get absorbed, or do they keep pushing this? So it reacts initially, and then it just keeps pushing up. So you could continue to play this towards higher nodes, especially when you've got this negative node. So this should push up towards that 744. You also have previous day close sitting right up there. And you just trail this up here. Like, you'd just be like, okay, I'm going to trail that up. Played up towards previous day close. I'd probably be out here just because this is stalling out so much. Or just really tight with the stop, where I'm risking an extra, like, you're risking like $200 to make 700 on that. Yeah, and that doesn't hit. Maybe it does at end of day, but yeah, I'd be out like up there as that's coming into that node. But it's really like you can find good entries off Skylit. It's just sometimes the nodes are a little bit trickier to read because you do have nodes that shift a lot, and sometimes the maps aren't super clean. Okay, so let's go to next day. Where are we at? Yeah, it shows positive and negatives. Are you going to start trading just off Skylit? I was going to actually do that next week, where it's like I'm only taking trades off Skylit nodes. See how that goes. So that's kind of why like I'm backtesting it like this, where it's like I'm only looking at Skylit. Just Skylit and IB, essentially. Okay, so coming into this open, this is a messy map. Like there's King Node on SPX down at 7520s. You have King Node down at 7520. You have King Node at 750 on SPY. You also have this 752 that looks like it's trying to build out as potential support. And then you're opening right up at 730 on QQQ. So I'd wait on this. And then you just start selling aggressively. Yeah, this map's still ugly. So I just wait for this map to like clear up a bit. So you have a base at 725. You could look to long off 725. So you hit 725. I want to see that hold. You do have King Node down at 748 on SPY. If this 725 breaks, it's just an air pocket down to 720. So either you're looking to long off this 725 or you're looking for the break. This looks pretty bearish to me. You also did just reject. So what time is this at? 10:20. So let's go to 10:20. Okay, so we're right there. You did just reject from VWAP. So this failed to reclaim VWAP. I'd potentially look at the break here. Just because this, like if this node breaks, it's just a straight air pocket down. So if you do get momentum here, I'd take this lower. Okay, it's testing it again. Yeah, and you have this, okay. Yeah, this is where I'd take this. Because you have this negative node show up. So this does bounce initially. On the second test of here, I'd be looking to take this on a strong break of this area. Just take it down. Yeah, there you go. I didn't take this on the paper trade, but like that's the read I would get is you want to take this on the break. So like as this breaks down, you could also short this off this 726 node. Or you could take it as it breaks through that 803 level. So you could set a, what is that? You could set a sell limit, or I guess it would be a sell stop. You would set a sell stop like right below that 805 or 800 level and just look for the continuation break. Or you could take it here, like right when this breaks through. And then this just trends down. Okay, and then is there anything else? Okay, so we're sitting down at 720s. I'd look to maybe take the long off 745 here. It's just there's nothing here on Qs. The Skylit run on Mac? Yeah, you can run it on your iPhone, bro. Like you can pull the maps on your phone. So here, like I wouldn't really try a long in here just because this is all just like it's all negative, right? And there's nothing here holding this up. So this could just continue to flush. Spy, if this breaks 745, then you have nothing till 740. So you could just play continuation plays here. Yeah, 745 breaks. And this just continues to flush. Yeah, this is, I remember this day. Yeah, this day was crazy. You could potentially short this off 745 here. As you're coming back up into that spy node, it's just you have nothing on Qs here. Like you have no exposure here to base the short off of. You'd be basing this off a spy level. But you can see that works out. Where spy comes up to that level and you take the short here. And you just ride that down. So if you do take that, all right, so I called that at what, 140. So where would you be? The Skylit run on a vape. If it's got a web browser, yeah. So if you're at 140, so you have this slight rejection here. So this comes up. So you'd be shorting here. You'd be shorting here based off the spy node. I'd probably have my stop above this structure point. And then you'd just be looking for this to run down further. So again, like this is just momentum play where there's nothing on this map. There's nothing till 707 and there's nothing on spy till 740. So you can take these momentum plays. They're just a little tricky sometimes because like here you're shorting Qs just based off a spy node. So you have to relate the price action to each other because there's nothing on the Q map. But yeah, this just keeps ripping lower. All the way down. So you could just hold this and just trail your stop. Because there's nothing on the map. I'm just gonna go to the next day, which is Monday. Let's see. How long have I been live here? Like 45 minutes or 30 minutes? You can use it for options trading. Okay, so we are at 9:49. Okay. So, on this map, you really only have that 745 on SPY. You have 720 on Qs, so you might see a pull up there. I'd be sketched on this just because like you're opening up and it's just choppy. All right, so when this is choppy like this, you could try to play this off the 715 node here, but this just cuts through it. Yeah, 715, 714. You could try to take a long here up towards that 720 node. And up towards that 725, it's just a little bit sketch. So like here at 10, if you can get a very good entry, like if you can enter here, it's just you don't really know where to put your stop here. Especially if I'm just using RTH, like I don't really have I don't have any price action to base this off of. This does end up pushing up. You trail stop here. Like I trail this very quickly. You come up to VWAP, you reject it initially. And then I trail here and then here. And you just want to play this towards this 720 node. So what, we were risking 800 on that, just like a 40-point stop, just somewhere in there. And then that does hit that 720 node. So that's a clean trade and that's a 5-1. It's just a little sketch when you take it. You could wait till you see this base out here. You could wait till you see this base out. And you have this 714 beef up a little bit. And then take it there. You also have more structure. So if you take that off 375s, 380s. You have your stop at 350, so 30-point stop. Have you tried V2? No, I haven't. Let me flip that on. I don't know if I like this. What is this? Cheddar Flow? Yeah, I've seen Cheddar Flow. I've seen it on Twitter. Okay, and then you could also potentially play the rejection off 720 here if you have the SPY node lineup. I wouldn't take this unless you're like right at that 745. So 745 is a little bit higher. You're also fading IB here. Okay, and then floors start to roll up. Okay, yeah, so you're hitting that 745. You could potentially take the short here at 1120. So you'd go forward a little bit towards that 1120. So you could potentially short this here as you come up to that 722. It's just there's not like a ton of exposure here. There's also a pull up to 727. You'd be basing this off this SPY node, and I'd just be looking for like a mean reversion back down to VWAP here. It does end up playing out, right? So you do get that mean reversion back down towards New York VWAP. You don't get it all the way. Like this doesn't go and hit New York VWAP, but that's still a nice trade. Like if you can relate the SPY map to QQQ here, where you'd say, okay, we're at 745 and we're not pushing through, I can short this. And you can also have a very tight stop. So if you short this at 720s, you'd essentially have your stop above that high. So you'd have a 20-point stop, and you'd have like 150-point TP. Okay, cool. It's been about 30 or so minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and run this giveaway here in a second. You could also take the short here off 722. It rejects there twice. And you're essentially just playing that back down towards New York VWAP. So same idea. You could try it twice. Do we ever hit this New York VWAP? We do. Okay, cool. So yeah, you could take the short here off that 722 node as well. So you could short this here, or you could short this at the 722 node at 690s. So either of those are both clean trades. Very high RR on that as well. Are you gonna do more lives, backtesting? Yeah, I can if you guys want that. Let me post this form in here. Okay, cool. There's your form. The passcode is Skylit. Passcode is Skylit. For the responses there. Let me pull this back up. Okay, so I'll let you guys get your responses in there, and then I'm just going to run through one more day here. And then I'll keep doing this for like another 30 or 40 minutes. And we'll spin the wheel. Okay, and then as we come down to this VWAP, I want to see if there's any nodes here. What time of day is this? This is around 1 p.m. You still have that pull up to 722, so you could potentially look for a mean reversion back up there. It's just you've already hit that node twice, so I wouldn't look for a potential revisit there. There's also nothing really on this SPY map or this QQQ map. So if this bases out, okay, this is based out. If this gets above 718s, if this gets above 718, you can play this back towards 722. I'd only take this if, okay, yeah, you get a break above that 718. Okay, and then you come back down, revisit it. So you could look to take this bounce back up towards 722. What time is this at? 1:35. Okay, it's also like you're sitting right at VWAP. So you'd long this here. Stop below there. And then you'd want to take this back up towards this 700 level. Terrible entry on my part. Does this hit? Or does this just chop around VWAP? It just kind of chops around VWAP. But you'd want to be in as close to that 718 node as you can. So, where this dips, like you could, like when this gets to this point, like you could just ping pong this between 718 and 720. So you're essentially just playing this range, which if you're doing that, you want to be in at range lows. So you'd want to be in at this like 520 area and just play it up towards 600s and have like a 20 point stop, 20, 30 point stop below this structure point. And then end of day, does this give anything? 256. There's not really anything that shows me like that's gonna dump. Okay, cool. Let's see. We got 45, 46. It looks like people are still responding to it. We're gonna go to next day. Okay, cool. So we are at 720s. So here you could potentially play the long off this 720, back up towards that 724. The only thing that is here, you have 744 on SPY, you're below it currently, and there's a potential dip towards 742. So this does react right off that 744 and 720, so you'd have to be very quick on this. It's also right at the open, so I'd wait on this. You hit 724, pushes up. I'd see if you break below 724 here. Okay, so you break below 724. I'd play this for a momentum short, just because the pulls lower are increasing, and you do have a cap at 747 here. So when this breaks, this comes up, and then what time is this at? 9:50. So I'm gonna go to 9:50. So I just play this off the break here. And if you're taking it off the break, like the way I would play breaks is essentially you just put your stop at the top of the 5-minute candle. So you have a wider stop, 50-point stop on this. And there's just a giant air pocket here. The reason you'd be looking to short this is because the pulls are lower on SPY. You also have negative nodes here. Okay, so this starts breaking down, and then let's see if any nodes start appearing. It's just a giant air pocket down to 718, 717. So I'd be looking for this below this low, probably at this like 560 area. Okay, this starts breaking down. Where's that node at? So 717, that's where I'd expect like a potential bounce. It's just you're in this giant air pocket. So 717, that's like right here. Yeah, crazy. 6-1. Okay. So you guys didn't know. So let me go through the rest of the session. See if we get anything. So I don't know, bro. I don't know who any of the people who enter are half the time. Give me the account. No, bro. Okay, so I'd potentially look to play longs off this 735 node. 709 looks like it's trying to build out. This map is kind of gross, though. So if we hit that 735, so this low of day, I'd want to see how this reacts here. It's just the only thing on this is QQQ. There's not really any good structure here. Yeah, and it just dumps. So no reaction off that 735. Then I'd be looking at this 731, see if you get a reaction off this. And no. you're in a downtrend, so like this is really hard to like try longs off here, especially when you're QQQ structure, like you have nothing. 695, see if this holds. Every other node hasn't held, so I'd just be cautious here trying anything. 695 doesn't hold. You could use that 695 as the ceiling though, as it comes out. Yeah, and that works well. So you could take the short off 695, and this is just such an aggressive downtrend. Like if you're trying to reverse this, like you would wait to see if there's a reaction on any of these nodes. There are partial reactions, it's just none of them hold. So you can take the short off that 695 on Qs, which is at 1230. So you would have caught that really nice short, and then 695. Yeah, this is crazy. This is a crazy dump day. So 1230. Let's get it over to 1230. Yeah, like this is gross, bro. This is so gross. Yeah, you could take the short here at 55. Yeah, and that just dumps like crazy. Dumps another 200 points. So, crazy price action here in June. And then this finally breaks out. Can you see why this breaks out? If this gets above 695, like this is king node. You also have a giant Pika cloud on SPY that we did tap into 722 down to 722. This is now built a base out. So as this rips through 695, you could then play that as a potential base. Yeah, that's finally giving you the base. And now you can see 700s building out as the next node. And this should probably just chop into end of day. But I'd be looking to, you could either take longs off that 700, or you could just say like, this is probably going to chop, or it's just too volatile for me to play. So you get above that 700, it tries to dip below it, and then it bases out on this. What time is this at? This is at 2. Let's just see. Yeah, so you could have really low risk here. You could long this at like that 800s level, and just have your stop at like 763 or down at like 733. It's just the range is really wide, and just play it back up towards that VWAP. Yeah, hits that New York VWAP perfectly. And then it's just, I wouldn't trade anything else after this. Like this is coming to close, end of session. But if you do play that off 800s up to VWAP, I mean, that's a 200-point trade, bro. Okay, let me go to, I'm just going to go till this next Friday. Is this the open? Okay, cool. I don't know why this goes till 4:15. Okay, so coming into the open here, you're at the weekly open. You have a node at 700. You have a node down at 727, and SPX is caught between these two, 730, 73.55 and 73.45. So kind of a cooked map. Just right off open. See if that 700 holds. That's what I'd be looking at, which it does. And then you get an expansion out towards 710. See if the short works off 710. That's what I'd be looking at. You also have a king node at 737 on SPY. So as we come up towards that 710, it's pretty choppy. See if you get the breakout or the rejection here. So if you're playing the breakout here, There's an air pocket on SPY up to 741. I'd be more inclined to playing the breakout here. But if you do reject off that 710, then you could play it if it retests it. Okay, it's retesting it. So you could have a low risk long here. 1030. It's just this is sketch because you're right at IB. And you held that VWAP multiple times. So 1030. Yeah, so like this is right when the IB sets. You could try to short this. It's just like, to me, your IB high has set second. So you don't want to lean towards IB high breaking. And this New York VWAP is held. Yeah, that is a little bit of sketch short. It does pop above it and then it rejects. So you could wait to see, like, as this comes up, it breaks that IB high. And then it does revisit that node again. So this is the better short here. When it breaks up, fails to break out, and then you short this here at 186 with your stop at 244. It's just these ranges are really wide in June, but that does play out very nicely. So you have a break above, it's a failed breakout, comes back up, retests that node, and then it drops hard off that. And you have that pull down to 700 increasing. So you could, like, once this breaks, this fails to break out, you essentially short at that 710. You short right here, and you just play this back down towards low of day. So, like, are you in right? No, bro. It's just like, it's small interaction on Instagram. Okay, and playing down towards that 700 node works well. You could then probably use it as a base once it gets back above it. So once this gets back above 700s, yeah, you could try to take the long here, back up towards this VWAP. So what's this at, 1130? Okay, yeah, so you'd look to long this here. You could long this, try this back up towards that VWAP. It's just these ranges in June were so wide. Like, this is a 50-point stop, which is crazy. Runs the stop, and then, yeah, never pushes back towards that VWAP until, does this even go back later in the day? No, it doesn't. Okay, so that fails to hold. And then you could play the rejection here. You could play this rejection at 12. It's just like these nodes are crazy. It's best if you have SPY and QQQ lined up, and there's just nothing on SPY here. There's this 700 on Qs, but like there's nothing lined up there on SPY. And you're just chopping above and below that node. The nodes have been a lot better recently with how much tighter the ranges have been. June, this is crazy. So June, like, it's better to play the breakouts or breakdowns. We hit that 700 again. You can play the rejection off that. So failed break above 700s, breaks back down. You can play the rejection here. What time is this at? 2:45. So you'd play this. Let me go back to the 5-minute. Yeah, you'd play the short here. Once this rejects that, and then it comes back up, you'd essentially short this here. And just have your stop above there. It's just, like, that's a crazy stop, like a 50-point stop. And you just play this back down towards, like, low of day. Yeah, that's a crazy drop. Maybe June's just not the best month to backtest this, just because the ranges were so crazy and you had nodes flip so often. Okay, so we are 20 minutes into the session. So coming into the open here, I mean, we obviously know what happens, right? because I skipped forward too much. The main thing I'd look at here is 697 for potential base. You also have 725 as the low on SPY. If we hit that 725, you can take longs off it. It just never goes down there. And you just have a giant air pocket in here. There's a note on SPX higher. Yeah, this price action is crazy. Okay, and then 735 starts to build out. There's just nothing on NQ here. Like, you're just in a giant air pocket, so it's hard to play this. You could play this off the 700 node. Your IB high has also set second, so you'd be looking to long this anyway, just based off the IB. I'd be looking for a recovery back above that 700 node. So IB high set second. You're basing out at the 700, so if you can get a long in here, this should play nicely, and then you just target that IB high. That does not play out though. If you're going for this IB high, like you're shooting for, if you longed this at 260s or 760s or even this 800s, like you'd be up 140 points on your trade. You'd be shooting for like 200 and something points, 250 points, which is crazy. This June price action is crazy, but like you can see, you get a nice bounce off this 700. It's just there's nothing else on the maps. And there's a pull lower on SPY. So maybe you do take the bounce play here. You just don't hold it for that high of day because the pull is lower on SPY. SPX, the pull is higher, but like when your SPY node's like this, like nothing's aligned here. Okay, and then see if 700s rejects. Gets above it. And then does this push? It does push here eventually. This looks like you just don't get an IB break today, on this day. Which, like, if you don't break IB within, like, the first hour and a half, 2 hours, like, I don't really like to try to take breaks. You get a crazy pump here. This had to be a Trump tweet. And 725 built out really crazy before this. Yeah, look at that. You could play the long off 725 here. That's just like, that's a crazy Trump tweet. Yeah, it's gonna be recorded. Yeah, it's recorded. It'll be posted. So you could play the long off 725 here. It's just like, that's a crazy pump. And then 712, you could potentially play rejection off 712. It's just these maps are shifting a lot. So you could just ping pong 712 and 709. Like play between 712 and 709, just take range trades off this. Like short here, back towards that 709, like in this range. That is a crazy pump though. Okay, I'm just gonna go to the next day. That 725 did show up. I'm also going through this very quickly. Like in real time, it's a lot like better to read the nodes. Like you can see, like you could see that 725 growing. Okay. And then you get continuation on this. Okay, so the open. Let's just see. Okay, do we have anything at the open? You're right at 740. On SPY, there's a pull down to 730. Pull down to 710 on Qs. 720 is also a pull higher. I'd see if this bases out at 740. If it doesn't, then yeah, you want to play downside because that ceiling rolled. Okay, and then here, 714. This, like, you're stuck in an air pocket and you're between 720 and 710. So this is like no trade. You just wait till you see what happens at 720s. Okay, you could potentially play a rejection here off that 720. You also have king node at 740 on SPY. If it breaks above here, like this pushes through 720s, SPY is also above 740 now. You could play continuation longs towards 725 on keys here. If you do get a recovery above that 720. But you get that rejection. You get a rejection, and then it gets above it. So once this gets above here, this is where you play the continuation at 1055 or 11. Now you play the continuation up towards 725. So if you're looking at this on the futures side, like when you get this big pump through, you could play the short rejection here. Like when it doesn't hold above this 720 area, it does come up in a wicket again at that 600s. So you could short this here. It's just when you're shorting this, you don't really have anything on the maps to base like where to TP off of. You could just TP at VWAP, right? So you could short this at like 570s when you see this wick here and just have your stop at the wick. So at 610 and then just play this to back down towards VWAP. I prefer to wait for this to break to the upside. All right, you get that break, and then you just be looking for that continuation. So if you can get an entry in that 600s, you can play this up towards that 725 node. So that taps 600s, so you would enter like right here. Even if you get a late entry up at like 640s, that's still fine. This should just grind up. And where does this top out at? 1125. So at 1125, I mean, there's potential for that 724. This is why you would trail. Like this, when it's slow grinding like this, I'd be trailed to like 680s. So you'd be 80 points in profit. And then when you see this wick here, like you could trail up to 700s. You just trail this. And this node vanishes. That 720 node vanishes. So you wouldn't want to play a bounce off there. Do we get up to that 725 at some point in the day? That pull's been sitting there, so like I would assume it gets up there at some point. Does it really not get up to that 725? I feel like end of day it gets up there, but it pulls off. You can see it pulls off, like this starts disappearing at like 220, and then these start building out. So there's not really anything at this 716 bounce at noon. You could just play that off VWAP though. Like once this breaks back above VWAP here, you'd long this after it breaks back above VWAP, just looking for a playback up towards that 725. There's nothing on SPY either. SPY does hit that 743 node, so like this could be your tell, like, hey, I should get out here. I should get out up at this 723. This isn't going to push to 725. Like that's why you want to look at both maps at the same time. So like if you do long this off the recovery above VWAP, and then you want to take this up towards like this 850 area, that this SPY node right at 310 or 110, it tells you, hey, like you should stop trying to shoot for it because you have a strong rejection at that point. So what's this at? 110. Like this is where you'd be looking to take this off. If you see rejection on that SPY node, you can see like, okay, this isn't pushing. Like it's not pushing higher, and SPY, like you have a divergence between SPY and QQQ now. I haven't looked at core convexity, no. Okay, so that's June, first 2 weeks of June. June was very volatile, so some of the nodes didn't work like as well. Like you'd be looking more for like breakouts or breakdowns off king nodes instead of like rejection plays. I think when you have like a tighter environment like right now, you can look for better rejection plays. So if I go to like this last week, like even if I go to Friday here, like you can see this 780 node sitting like right at open. and 734. So if you're looking at this, you could see a pump off 735 if it gets above there. But you come up to that 734, right? And you reject right there. So like this is a perfect rejection here. And you can have a pretty tight stop on that. Because you see like it rejects here off the open, it rejects here again, and then it comes up to this like 268 level. You can have like a 20-point stop on this and be okay with that. And then play this down towards, I was looking for 30,000 20s. That's what I was looking for. And you can see like I said, this was GC. NQ looks weak, should retest 30,000 20, 30,000 75. This was at 11 a.m. So, you know, this was like right in here. And then you start to break down towards that 30,000 20, 30,000 75. That's based off order flow. That's not based off nodes necessarily. But you can see like, let's go to that 1050. And I'll show you what I was seeing here. It was like 1040. So 1040, I had some people asking me if 730 was going to hold. To me, this doesn't have enough exposure on it to hold, and 775 is the pull down on SPY. So this to me, like this isn't going to hold. And then your base is 728. You should look for that 728 for an aggressive bounce there. So in this environment where like the price action's a lot less volatile, it's a lot easier to read these nodes. And you can see SPY gets below this negative exposure node. And then you just head down towards that 728. You don't hit 728 exactly. You hit 728.6 or 0.7. And then you bounce there. And then going into end of day, I did say I would expect a bounce here, right? Like you could just play this off the 729 node. You could long this off 729, look for it up to 730s. You can have a really tight entry here. Like you can risk 5 points on this trade. So if you're looking at this, where you see like, okay, this is holding really well, you can get in at 30,050, and you can see like this node will pull off going into end of day here. You get multiple entries off this, right? You can see this node dissipates here. So this should pull back up towards that VWAP. Like this is a clean mean reversion play. And then this floor rolls up. So it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to play the nodes right now when the PA is not as crazy. When the PA is volatile like that, you want to be like looking for breakouts or breakdowns, in my opinion. Do you want to trail stop every trade? Yeah, of course. Like whenever you're seeing like floors roll up or down, right? Like, so if you took this trade here that I called out, I said, see if we get a bounce here on NQ. This was at 1152. So I called this right here. I said, see if we get a bounce here on NQ. I also called out the level beforehand. Looks solid. Should be green if you took. This was at 1230. And then that was kind of where it was the high. Because you do have this node show up right at 1230. So you have that 730 node up here. And then I said cap on QQQ, floor on SPY, wouldn't hold the longs. 730 just pulled off, see if longs finally move. So this was at 154 Eastern. So I called this out right here, right? Like in this area. So if you're able to get long in this 30,650 area on this little retest here, or 30,070 area, somewhere in there, you can have a nice little end of day play where you're capturing 70 to 80 points and you're only risking 20. So it's a clean like 3-1, 4-1. The main thing is like wait for the nodes to like tell you what to do. If you rush it, then you'll see like a lot of the trades don't work out, but you can find very high RR trades just off the nodes. Even like this last, where was it? It was like Monday, I think. Let me just go through my commentary and just see. I didn't post too much commentary this week because I was live a lot of the time. Let me see. What day was Monday? Was it 8:10? Okay, so all right, it was 8-9 or 8-10. What day was it? On the 10th. Okay, so if you go to the 10th here, at the open, what you're looking at here. So let me just go forward a little bit. Okay, so at the open here, like this is cooked, right? Like there's not really, like this PA is choppy, but you can look for the short at 775, and you also have 726 on Qs. So if this gets through 723, you know it's probably going to be volatile. You did reject here, but you can look for that breakout trade here, right? It comes up to that 723, it tests it once, and there's an air pocket here. So you could take the breakout here. You could take the breakout trade off 723 towards that 726 node. It even gives you a little retest here. You are at 775, 774 rolled up. So if you do dip back down there on SPY, you can take it there. All right. Okay, hold on. This is throwing me off, this derived. Okay, cool. So this is a lot better. Okay, so you could play the breakout here towards that 720, what was it, 725? I think you get a Trump tweet here. So where was it? Yeah, so like you could, if you're playing like Orb, right, like this works really well with Orb because you have a negative node here, so you know if it gets through this area, right, it can rip up. So if I'm looking at, I want to go to August 11th or 10th, right? So if this rips up, like you can take the breakout here from 723 up towards, like you'd be looking for that 726, so probably like 30,000 area. But you still have a point where you trail here, right? Like you'd probably get trailed out on this maybe for break even. And then once you're here, I'd be looking for that 726. You do reject down on Qs here. And then you can see, right, the 726, it's still basing out. Does it build or does it shrink? It builds. Okay, and then 724 should hold as support. So you'd be wanting to have your stop. You'd be wanting to have your stop tight here, right? You have a tight stop on this because you also have 744 or 774 on this. So SPY might pull back down to this area, which it does. And then you dump. Okay, and then if you're looking, I'd want to play shorts off this 724 area, which it gets up to, what, 723.7. When the price action's like this, where it's like a lot less volatile, you can take it when it's at 723.5. All right, so as this comes up here and it rejects down, you could even take this here, right, at the 723, because you have this 721 starting to increase. So you can play it like that. Yeah, Garma. You want to like hop up on stage or what? No. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right, give some sauce, Garma.
What day we doing?
Just go to like the. I'd stay in this month because like June is crazy, right? Like
someday in July or
yeah, go to someday in July or someday in August because like June, the price action was so volatile. The price action was so volatile in June that it's like the notes just don't work as well, you know, or you get giant air pockets a lot of the time.
Someone pick like some random day in July and I'll do it.
23rd of July.
22?
23rd. Or 22 works.
I could do whatever. So like the way I have it up is I normally have all three.
Okay.
And if you notice on my Trinity, I actually have it so it's percent based so that I'm not reading numbers to throw me off. So
gotcha.
That way, like kind of when I'm reading the Trinity, everything's more easier for me to read in general. Because like you can see what our actual air pockets is and which nodes kind of matter versus what matters versus what doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In a sense. So like right off the bat, what I see here is like QQQ has a whole bunch of air pockets, and we do have this 701 strong positive floor. Now SPX right off the bat, or not SPX, SPY has this Pika stack here with these two positives, and SPX has a 7450. Now the 7480 is also a gatekeeper, and anything above a 30% like node is what I consider gatekeepers. So anything above 30% to me holds value, and anything below I consider it an air pocket.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that's the way I look at it. Now, what I'm looking at on this map right off the bat is that if we get down to 701, or like this right here is kind of like a major floor area.
Yeah.
Anything from
Because you have
701,
everything online there.
744, yeah, and 745, like these are all major floors. If we get like a dip down, like I'm gonna want to long that. And then SPX also supports somewhat of a reverse rug off of the 7480.
Okay.
So I'm gonna play like the first two candles.
Yeah, let me flip mine so I have 3 up. So then I have SPX.
Yeah. And as of right now, like we see the SPY node, these SPY nodes are growing. QQQ nodes are strong.
Do you use SPXW?
Now, yeah.
Cool.
Now we are finding support off of this 7495 and the 705 here on Qs, it seems like. So I'm trying to dictate whether if we're even going to get down to these king nodes, just because the 705 on Qs and the 7495 on SPX might gatekeep if these hold. So like if we hold above these nodes, like I don't know if we get down, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking at here. Yeah, so it seems like 705 and the SPX 7495 held, and they slipped in like a small floor here on SPY at the 747. So these downside nodes actually like never got tapped, it seems like, but they still hold like somewhat value. Now SPY has a 752 pointed up, and QQQ has already found support at 705. So if I had to guess here, I think we'd probably just run up, and we might see the
If it gets
QQQ
above
ceiling
that
roll up.
707, like there's just an air pocket.
Yeah, and also 749 here on SPY, because the 749, well, all these SPY nodes are kind of just like a positive stack, and SPX has air pockets up to 7510, which is another $5 move, and then if it gets above 7510, like we would just go to 7525, and then QQQ has a 710 Barney, and typically like the Barneys and negative gammas are like very strong pulls in the market. So like these Barneys are something I would pay attention to at the 710
Yeah,
on
usually
Qs.
you see like strong, like I look for either strong bounces or strong rips through those Barneys. So like
Yeah.
if it gets up to that 710, like you could play a rejection
Probably
play,
look
but
a
like
reversal.
yeah, you'd look for like strong sellers to come in.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like where you'd be using your order flow and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I know you guys like use the IB and stuff. So like you'd wait probably use the 60-minute, right?
Yeah.
So
I'll
you'd
use
be
this. I'll
looking
use
for
like the 45 or the 60-minute. The 45 is a little bit nicer because it sets earlier. I know you use the 30.
a 45-minute. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I've never heard of the 45-minute IB.
45-minute,
But
yeah, bro.
yeah, as of right now, like if 705 holds, the 747 on SPY, they're already holding. Like I think we run up to now 707, which is going to be kind of like a key indication point now. Because if 707, 749 here, SPY and QQQ, if these areas start to find resistance, we could see a drop back down from Qs to 705, and then SPY could get the pull all the way down to these floors. So that's what I'm probably going to watch out for here. Like if I missed a potential long, and the 707 is also growing now. So that's kind of something I would be watching here.
And that 701 is
So
still
far,
king node.
yeah, like this king node might get rolled up to the 707. It seems like so far I haven't really seen a valid play. I would say, like I haven't seen anything I would play off of. Now we are testing back the 705, but we're not aligned with Spine SPX. So Qs could bounce to 705, but at least for me, I want to see at least a 2 out of 3 node confluence. So Spine SPX have nothing here. So even if the Qs does like bounce to 705 back to 707, me personally, I wouldn't even play a play off of it.
Yeah.
Just because
I mean, you could maybe take
it's
like a
lower
range trade
profitability.
off it if it's like you have consolidation there.
It seems like we do get the bounce.
Hit
So we
707.
do notice that the 714 is actually popping up on Qs, I believe. That node was not that strong from before. The
Yeah.
714 was 17 mil, and then it actually gets more dark yellow, so it goes up to 21 mil. So these upsides are growing. The 701 is so far it hasn't been fading away, but the 701 definitely is going to get replaced by either the 714 or one of these 705s or 707s on Qs. Now, SPY, the king node is still pointing up to 752, and SPX is now setting up a rug pull setup at 7525 with air pockets still up. So there actually is a reverse rug down here and a rug pull or a rug setup up here. So if SPX does get up to the 7525, and this could probably align with
You're 710.
Q710 and then SPY to 749, which could gatekeep this upside. So I think that's the possibility area where I'll be looking to short Qs at like 710 if we get up here.
Rug setup is where you've got a positive node with a negative stacked below it. So you're essentially looking for, like, if that positive node doesn't hold and it starts tapping into that negative, it's going to flush. Okay, and then you have your IB high set.
Yeah, the whole idea of like a rug pull or a rug pull setup is that the 7525 it holds as the ceiling, and then the 7520 negative amplifies the move
Yeah, it
down.
accelerates it.
Yeah. So I'm still kind of watching. Now SPY is testing the 749 before Q's even gets up to the 710. So we do have that divergence, and SPY is still pushing. So I think Q's find support here at the 707 as it seems like they're just trying to roll up these floors, and we'll probably get the move to 710. Now, the only thing I don't like is that all these upsides and Qs are still growing for a possible deflection there. So 714 actually just popped for a second there as the king node. SPX is finding resistance at the 7520, but like I'm still kind of watching for that Q710 just because I feel like that's going to be my more of a high probability setup. Would you personally play like an IB break like with a fib retracement here? Like let's say
If this pulls down to, like, you could play, like, here you're kind of like in a weird range. So unless it, like,
because this is
drops back,
something I would be looking at.
I'd be looking at like 705 to base out. Like, I'd be looking for a
Yeah,
deeper
because
pullback, or like
that's
for
what I'm looking
VWAP to
for.
hold or something.
I don't know if the VWAP is really fixed up yet in here because this is session VWAP. I'm pretty sure. So we have session VWAP here. I think like the play I see myself taking here is a pullback to 705 on Qs because this is like your golden pocket
Yeah.
between the 618 and the deep retracement, just like Baron was saying.
And then you also
And on
have your IB.
748,
Like, there's a stat I was trying to tell you about, the stat where it's like if your IB high set's second and your low set's first, you want to target the high anyway.
yeah. So like the low got set first, now the high. So I would expect a pullback here. Let's see if we do get the pullback or if the 707 actually holds. Because now this 707 is pretty strong, but I'm going to get a better risk to reward setup by playing off the 705. So like I would just be patient.
Yeah, you can snipe that.
748, 748 is also probably going to get tapped before. So let's see if we do get that retracement or if these actually hold. All right, it seems like 707 here. That's kind of weird. I was actually expecting it to deflect there. SPY and SPX are actually just plummeting while Qs is diverging here.
Yeah, I wouldn't look for longs here anymore.
Really?
No. Like, when it comes up towards that IB high, like, you can see there's two failed pushes to IB high now. So when there's two failed pushes like that, I wouldn't personally look for longs anymore. I'd potentially flip back to downside if it breaks through VWAP and it holds below there. And then if it breaks
Like,
through that 705 and then uses that as a ceiling.
at least the thing is for me is what I'm looking at here is that SPX has an insane reverse rug. So I can't short into this reverse rug on SPX just because of the fact that if this node does get tapped, these negatives are gonna fly, right? On
Yeah.
SPX. And if I also play like some sort of short trade, I mean you got 745 on SPY and 705 on Qs. So the only way like I'm saying that I could short is if we get below 705 down to SPX's king node.
Yeah, just based off the price action from what I've seen with IBs is like you have that IB high set and then it tries to rip up through it and you get a strong rejection. It tries to push it again and it rejects again. So like for me, I'd maybe look to take the long at 705, but I'd be cautious just because the IBs failed to break twice.
Yeah. And one thing to note too is like the Qs haven't really let off these upside Barneys. Like 710, 711, 716, these are still strong Barneys. And Spy still has like that 749, right?
Yeah.
But I think your best bet is either you play off the 705 for a deflection play,
Yeah,
or
I'd only
your
look to take the
ultimate
long off 705. Like I wouldn't long that anywhere else, even at the VWAP. Like I'd wait for it.
if we even get a VWAP holds here. It seems like it's just gonna go now. We didn't even get the 705 tab.
It was like 705.6. Like when the ranges are tighter, I feel like you can play it off like 705.5 or 705.4. Like you don't need the exact node tap.
Yeah, that's also true.
Because
I mean, it is
I've
what
seen glitch like when he was doing like if you go through the academy, he says like you can use within 50 cents of a node.
yeah, this is technically still a tab. The only thing is like I like the direct tabs just because I don't have like I'm not putting that big of a stop loss on this trade because
Yeah,
I have to. If I took this trade, I'm gonna have to factor around I believe like a 30-point stop just to save myself from potential drawdown if we do come down to this node.
yeah,
But I only do that if we have more alignment. Like if I saw Spy had like a king node right here or SPX had like some sort of positive, I would play off of that with the fact that QQQ won't touch the 705. I didn't really see that alignment on SPX or SPY.
yeah. I don't like how the 749 is capping like right at IB high, and then Q's there's just nothing on there besides 707
Yeah.
and 705.
I think these Barneys get hit though, on Qs at least. I think these Barneys get hit and we might get a rejection and a failed break of the IB high. And SPX this reverse rug plays out. Or this rug post plays out on SPX. That's the short I'm looking for now. I think Spy and SPX here, they're gonna ultimately gatekeep these upsides from happening. Because this 749 is pretty massive and SPX is also forming a rug pull signal.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't want to like play like I wouldn't want like if I'm looking for the Ivy breakout, like if you take that trade off VWAP, I think that's
Yeah.
fine. But you're one, you need a tight stop, and two, like you're not looking for deep extensions on the IB just because Spy's capped at 749. It looks like unless it gets above 749 and then that rolls as floor.
Yeah. So what I'm looking at here is that the perfect setup I see is Spy hits the 749 ceiling, SPX hopefully pushes through this Barney, finds resistance at the 7520. This might claim as the king node with how close of a percent is that compared to this node. We get that rug down and Q's right here, also, or this Spy 749 also gets that ceiling. And then QQQ tests is like the 710, 711 range. And then we probably get like a short back down to VWAP or out a
Just
SIP.
like a clean mean reversion.
Yeah. So I think Q's needs to at least get up to this, like these negatives for me to look for a retracement. So I wouldn't play the deflection just yet. I think I would wait for SPX to come up to the 7530. Wait, no, wait, 7530.
Would you
The
target
7520 I
VWAP
meant.
or 705? I would just target VWAP because like that 705, like if you have your IB high break, like your 705 is sitting right at IB low, so you'd be essentially looking for a double break, which is really low probability. Like you only have a
Yeah,
15%
because you
chance of
probably
that
you probably
happening.
don't get this break. This break does not break on the downside. That'd be
Yeah.
like an insane V-band reversal.
Yeah, so
Now the
that
thing that
floor
I don't like
rolled.
it.
That floor
Yeah,
rolled on
that's what I was gonna
749.
say. 709 is also popping on Qs though.
Yeah, I'd see if that's So like if this gets above 709, you have all those stacked Barneys above. Like this could just
It
rip to
just fly.
714, and then SPY the king node rolled up to 752.
I think if we get back below 709 here and 749, we just short, like you just short this back down.
Really, I'd be looking to play this breakout. If it gets through
That,
709, I'd be looking for the breakout. But like you could be
the,
pretty
the,
low
the
risk
thing
on
I
it.
learned with like the thing I learned from Glitch and John is that you don't want to play like a ceiling to floor swap, just because technically this whole range up to from 709 to 710 is still resistance, right? So until we get above 710 on Qs and get a retest of 709, that's the only way I could play it along. Because like you can't really, there's no real way of saying that the 709 still isn't acting as resistance just because spot price is above it, right? You would need at least a like extension to the next node and then a retest to confirm that it's a floor.
Gotcha.
Like that's the way I've seen it, because there's times where like we could still resist here, right? We're still resisting around the 710 range on Qs. So what doesn't say that this is just an overshoot of the QQQ 709, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, same could be said about SPY, that this could be although it's not like direct test, there's still the possibility that this area is going to be resistance. And what doesn't say that the 750 on SPY rejects? And you also have a reverse or a rug setup setting up on SPX too. So I think your probability for longs are less here. I would be looking for some sort of short, but the only way I would be shorting is once we get below 709 now. So like right here, I would probably be looking for a pull back to 709, and then I would be looking to short it with my stop like at the wicking high, which would be around like 25 point. If we get this retest. Like here's where I'd be looking for a short.
Okay.
Like I would
so
short this.
let me just.
The only concern I have here though is that the 708, right? Because
Yeah.
Qs is technically forming somewhat of a Pika stack, so maybe
You
instead
might
of
you might
shorting
just
it,
have to hold it.
yeah, I was gonna say maybe instead of shorting it now, just because we are also going into lunch session, and to be honest, this looks like whipsaw. So instead of shorting this now, I think I would just wait for these maps to rearrange, just because this looks like whipsaw. Q's has Q's has resistance and it has an up and down Pika stack. It's in the Pika stack.
If you're shorting that though,
So,
you only have like a 20-point stop, which like that's not bad.
yeah.
And you're just looking to play it back down towards VWAP, so like you'd be getting 100 points. It's still a 5-to-1 trade.
Yeah, I think me personally though, I would wait. I think my guess here is that we chop between 708 on Qs and 709 into this lunch session. Phi is going to be pinned to the 749 because we're in a positive gamma regime on SPY and on Qs, and SPX is kind of just like chilling between these Barneys and these positives. So what I believe here is we chop, and then after lunch session we might get a breakout, or if these nodes finally start losing exposure, because like later is 709 and the 708 on Qs. Yeah, I mean SPY looks way
Yeah, it's
stronger
probably
here
just gonna
too.
chop.
Like Qs looks so much more condensed. SPY is making a new high day.
Yeah, just chop till PM probably.
Or actually, maybe we get this test of the 710, right?
Yeah, because with
I think I'll try
710,
to short here.
710 flipped from a negative to a positive, right? So now it's
Yeah,
kingdom.
look at that.
So
I
you'd
think
be using that as
I would try to
rejection.
short here.
Yeah.
Like, I would try a short wrong way. Wrong way again. So I would try to short. Like I think I would like honestly take it here with my stop above the previous day high, like by little points, and then probably down to VWAP, or like even down to the 7.
I mean that's still a 3-to-1. Like that's a good trade. It's a 3 or 4-to-1.
And the reason I'm taking this trade too is just because SPX is hitting a ceiling with the Dark Pool. SPY also has a major ceiling here, and Q's also does too. So I don't see price going higher above these ceilings just because of like the positive gamma up here is going to prevent any upside. Let's see. It's kind of hard to see now. Put this like on the left here. And I'll skip through. You probably send this trade throughout the lunch session if you take this though.
Yeah, just kind of like a set and forget.
And you got the roll down here at 709. So you get the ceiling rolling down here on Qs. I think we would get a like 709 holds his resistance now, and you should be chilling on the trade. Yeah, look at that. SPX inspired like tested the ceilings. Qs had the divergence. This doesn't look bad.
Yeah, and if SPX slips down to that 715 node, it's just gonna dump to 7500.
You also got a perfect double top retest again here again. You know,
yeah, look at that SPX. Like, there's an air pocket. So like, if it slips below that 715, that should just dump.
You hit 7500. Q's has room to 705. So yeah, let's see. I think your final TP here is Q705.
Yeah, that's like a 5-1. It's a crazy trade.
You take some off here at the 707 VWAP, and then you just hold it break even and just let it run. And that Q710, as we see, although they had what's called like a ceiling roll down, which typically means bearish because it means that previous exposure from the 710 node lost exposure. So those people that were holding their positions sold, and the 709 was gaining exposure as well. We had a ceiling roll down here alongside on SPY also basically had a ceiling roll down as well. And SPX still has this ceiling up capping any more upside. I think this hits. It looks really good. Only thing is Q's is just diverging so hard. Like this looks like it played better in ES.
Yeah, you also have that 708, but if it breaks below, yeah. You hit that VWAP, so that's your first scale.
Today was a day where SPY and SPX moved so much better than QQQ. This is.
Yeah, and so that 715 broke. So yeah, and that's 7500 starting to build out. So you just play it down there.
At least for me personally, like I don't know if you trade ES, but
I trade it here and there.
When you have those positives on Qs, like ES was probably definitely the better play here. Mm-hmm. Like I still trade NQ regardless. Let's see if we do get because we have the 707 air pocket here with the negative. Oh, wait, no, this is a positive. So if we can get below VWAP, I see it's just dump. If not, then I don't know. I think we run 747's lit too. I think you hold this. If I hit 747, QQQ 705 probably pops up. Yeah, 705 is growing.
You're getting close to end of session too here.
Like I don't know about you, but I don't hold trades this long.
I'll hold trades for like 3 hours sometimes, bro. Especially like if I got in this trade at the highs and I'm risking 20 points, like I'm okay holding that. Just doing a set and forget.
That's fair. I think what I have to do is like on some accounts, like just have one account run to the full TP like for the whole day. Because there's times where the trade just runs and then just like take profit, like maintain a winning day on my other accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, 707 is still just an air pocket here. This looks like chopping mess. We probably like finally get a breakout in power hour now. Yeah, because SPX is
and 708
upside here. 7510, 7500 is here to catch any sort of bounce.
747, yeah, and then 708 is also gap stopping upside.
Yeah, if this is, and we already delivered from the 708 now.
And like, that's also your IV high here, too. So like even if it retests there, like it should reject.
That's what I was just gonna say. The 708 is probably gonna hold. I give it 705 now. All right, SPX hit that 7500. You probably honestly take another trim here, or I don't know if you just leave this to run.
I'd probably trim there. unless like that,
I would, like
like
I would
if you
trim here
have
just because of the
that,
SPX node.
yeah, and like you break down, you have that breakdown candle and it immediately bounces. So if unless that, um, unless that fails there, like you definitely want to trim that.
We're probably done for mock here now.
What do you want? I'd be
Dang, come on, give me
yeah.
705.
I'd be
Give me
tight on the trail.
705.
Real close.
That had to hit 705 on the day. That was crazy. Damn, but like you got this, bro. If you're holding this trade
I,
on
I
the
would I would
upgrade,
hold I would hold something like that. Like I'm perfectly fine holding something like that because you could
that's actually a
trail.
god entry.
Like you can trail to that. You see where that 708 is at?
Yeah, like
Like
you would just
you would
trail here
trail
because
like
if the
slightly above
IB high
there.
breaks,
Yeah.
then you wouldn't want that.
Yeah, I'd just be trailed like
That's
slightly above there.
Baron's just got the big balls to do it, bro.
Bro,
But
I had I think my best trade was I had 10 minis on and I held it for 3 hours.
yeah,
And I got 250 points out of it.
he's
With like a 20 point stop.
insane with it. All right, let's go on to the next day now.
Yeah, just go to the next day. We're at like 2 hours on this recording, so I might have to trim it up a little bit. But
I'll probably do one more and I'm gonna hop off.
yeah, I'm about there too.
All right, what are we seeing here? So, um, 739, 738. This is kind of like a weird map. If Spy loses these positives, you just short this down for the day.
Yeah, and
Um,
742 is king node, but like that's right at the open, so I'd expect that to like flip. Like I'd expect some node to like roll down in there.
742. Yeah, I was gonna see if we already delivered from that. We gapped down insane in Asia session. Trying to see. So right now, like SPX is what in air pockets, so I'm not paying much attention to this SPX map. QQQ has technically the 695 as a ceiling, and we could reject the 695 here on Qs. And we do have a rug set up from 696, 695.
Do you look right at the
SPY.
open? Because I feel like 15 minutes in is typically you get better setups. Because like right at the
I
open,
look,
sometimes
but
it's
I don't
sketchy.
take a trade.
Gotcha. Usually like
So
the
like,
first 15 minutes, because I remember going through the videos and it was like the first 15 to 30 minutes, like you have so much change on the maps that you want to like wait for it.
yeah, that's also true. I mean, you could wait. It depends on how patient you are. Like sometimes I'll trade like the first like 15 minutes and like I'll have like a way tighter stop versus kind of waiting. I like to just identify what could play out in the morning. Because like we know SPY, there's no way we break this positive stack.
Oh, this map
Like if SP,
is this map's so clean, bro. I'm looking at it on my second monitor right now. I just
yeah,
want to
like
see what
SP,
you say on it. I'm not gonna say anything.
all I'm gonna say is that this is a free short off of the SPY ceilings and 968 on Qs here. Like that's my play right here.
Okay.
And like I could probably put money on it that we also align with this SPX node, and this is just a waterfall down. Like this is kind of like a no-brainer map where you have like no exposures on SPX to catch price, so it's a free fall. Buy is a free fall with some resistance at 739, and Qs is literally just all the way to 688. Like I don't know about you, but this looks so free. And sometimes when a trade is so obvious like this, like I do second guess myself, but
Have you seen that video of the guy who's like, if the trade seems easy, you're about to get sexually violated?
yeah, I like
It's one of those, bro.
here. I'm gonna wait for the resistance because sometimes I do front run trades depending on the order flow, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like looking for buyers to get trapped here, obviously, and at least a push down here. Like I'm shorting this. So SPY is finding resistance from 742. This is what's called a Pika stack, which means that it's the two strongest nodes or two dark yellow nodes. So you see on SPY here, the 742 and 743. This is almost not impossible to break, but the probability of breaking is really low to the point where you're better off playing the short. Now,
Yeah, the way I look at
QQ,
those, like the Pika stacks,
yeah,
from what I've seen, just like I mean, I would have to back test and see like what the data says, but I base it off like the price action. Like if you get a strong rejection here there, then like you don't want
you
to,
know it's not gonna
you know, it's not going to
it's gonna
break.
resist.
But like if it starts
Yeah.
grinding through it, then it's like don't short it. Like it's just going to grind up through like a Pika cloud.
See, the thing is, what I say here is that this is kind of where I'm using SPY and SPX's map as more alignments, because if like I'm shorting this on Qs, like I normally would just take this on NQ, and like my stop would probably be like maybe above the next node at 700, and then like my target, I don't have an exact target yet.
I'd be
There's
looking
nothing popping
at,
up.
for me, I'd be looking at that 693
693 and then
for the first,
688.
yeah, 688.
And then SPX has nothing, Spy has nothing. So this is this is a trade where the risk to reward looks really good, and you would kind of just take it, just because it has a high. Not only does it have high probability, SPX is already finding resistance here, and SPY is already finding resistance, and QQQ also has these upsides, but these upsides could be ignored by looking at this SPY. This is actually a Pika cloud, just because of the 744. So I would short here, and you have a double negative on SPX, which is also going to be if dealers are going to sell like a lot of puts in this area. So we should get a nice move down. Look at that. And we do see 698 here also lighting up on Qs. So let's say we did miss that map down. Like I think if we get the retest of 698, or if
You
you're
could
waiting
take
for
it
a
there.
pullback here, you just take it here. Or like if you miss that dump down, instead of like FOMO chasing, like you're gonna want to wait for at least a pullback.
Yeah. Or like you could
Here,
also
here would
see, like the way I would look at that is like you just broke below VWAP and it bounced hard. I'd see if
yeah,
that bounce holds, and if it doesn't, then you could look for a rejection at VWAP again.
uh, yeah. So like SPX is like this is insane. Like these nodes down here in SPX, I've seen this play out so many times where SPX will just have random lingering nodes all the way to the downside, and they always hit. Like if I wouldn't even be surprised if SPX hits these nodes. Now I'm just gonna short this. Like we said, 693 is probably gonna be your first profit target.
Yeah, there's your break below VWAP, and then it
And
retests
then
that VWAP. So like
that's also at the IB low.
yeah, I'd be looking for the short. Like if you miss that short off that wick, I'd be shorting that right at that VWAP.
Oh my god, bro, I've exited out. What day was that?
It was the 23rd.
That was no, wait. I didn't look. That was at 10.
I didn't look. Yeah, right at
The
10.
IB got
So,
set.
so yeah, you'd be looking to short right at that VWAP. That's how I'd be looking at it, at least.
Yeah, you got the golden pocket there too. Now it's just barbecue chicken. You get the break of the IB low if
Yeah,
you want to take some profits on
that's
the
steak
break.
dinner, bro.
Look at that. They rolled down the Q ceiling. It's just waterfall from here. You see the exposure to 703 is letting off, and they rolled it down to the
696. Yeah.
696. So even then, let's say you did miss that short, you just short the
Wait,
696 here.
go back a little bit.
Yeah.
Where okay, so you have that
Here
six.
or
Yeah, like as it pops up. So
my God, that's an insane pop.
yeah, and there's nothing there.
Yeah. So if you guys notice this too, this is like
Go back before it pops up, like right before it pops up. Yeah, there's nothing on that node.
if you guys look at the 696, you see how this node is 256K. Like this is literally like power advantage that Skylet has over every other tool. But
yeah, it just like once it
second,
flips to that 696, that's like okay, I'm shorting that. Like it's just gonna
it
rip
just
down.
gained 17 mil. Like I'm slapping 5 minis on short at VWAP golden pocket. You got this ceiling roll down, and then look at that. You guys saw how that node was 400K, and it just went to 28 mil in exposure. Look at that rate of change. Like this is insane.
Yeah, whenever I see those big rates of change, it's like, okay, that's where you initiate your trade. Like you can initiate trades based off that.
Yeah, like maybe you size into this trade, or maybe you just like like this is your entry, but like you should just get the flush. There's no way we don't dump. You even get the retest, bro. They make it that simple for you.
Yeah, right at VWAP too.
And you just get the drill down. Yeah, what is this? This is the hunt candle. All right, now we
And
get the
then they dump it.
all right, and then if you didn't trim there, 691 here you trim. Is it a 738 here on SPY? Now
it's also
you'll
IB
probably
low, so like if you're taking that, like the high
yeah,
probability trade is just like take some off at that IB low, or take the whole thing
yeah,
off, and then as it comes up and retests that area, you can just short it again.
it's sort
So
of
you
back.
you can take two trades in there.
Yeah.
You could say like
Those,
because I have a lot of students. The way that they trade is they'll just they'll just take it off at the IB low or the IB high, and then if there's
there's times where I
continuation,
TP just at the IB low, and then if anything, like for example, like for day like yesterday where we retested IB low, like I just shorted it back down again.
yeah, exactly.
And it also depends if you're going for a winning day or just like a winning trade in general. Because like after this, you got like if you short a 618, you got a 200 point dump. Like ideally, you're chilling for the day.
Yeah.
And then Qs might try to catch a bounce here from the 691 or the 738 on SPY, but this is like nasty. Like this on SPY is like
That's
get off the chart.
691. To me, that's either you. I wouldn't try the
It could
bounce
be
there just because.
amplification.
Yeah, I wouldn't try the bounce there just because you have nodes lower, and
Yeah.
I mean you do have 738 there, but like you still have that SPX node all the way down, and if it breaks below that
Yeah.
738, it's just a straight air pocket.
This probably amplifies the move down. I think it seems like 688 here is actually going to get hit. They're actually setting up they're setting up a very strong reverse rug at 688 here. So like maybe that was like an insane read by us from the 688, but 688 popped strong, and they're setting up a very strong reverse rug because the 688's gained a lot of exposure. You got 688 growing now. You know what would be like the barbecue chicken of this trade? 736 gets hit here on SPY, and then SPX hits the 7380.
And you take the reversal.
Like you just played a reversal back up to the IB low. Come on. All right, so like
You're right. You're right at those nodes. Yeah. See if it
you're
bounces.
right at
Yeah,
the nose,
I would
so
look
you
for
have
that
the three
bounce.
alignment. When you get that bounce, like you just port longs. Like
You can also just take it back up to like you could take a quick scalp to 690, or if it gets through, that's like you would be looking like if you long that, and as it comes back up to that 690, you either look for okay, it rejects hard there, or it rips through it.
Yeah, so you get a bounce of two strong positives on SPY and Qs. SPX is also hitting this 7380. Now this is kind of like your do or die situation with the fact that I like to look at it as a realistic perspective. The market just went from the Qs just jumped 10 points, right? Realistically, if I'm being realistic with myself, I don't think we see more of a dump. And what I'm seeing forming here on SPY is they're trying to form support at 735 and 736. So this whole area on SPY is support to me. And QQQ, if 688 doesn't hold, you get an air pocket down to 686, but that's going to be highly unlikely just because of the SPY positive nodes that are forming here. And SPX also had a king node negative. So this could, if we see the bounce, we should get the move back up here. Like I would probably look to play along. And then just like Baron said, if this 790, like maybe you take like some off here or you set a break even.
Yeah, or you trail.
You would ideally set a break even here, you would trail. Just because of the fact that ideally, if this finds rejection, you want to get stopped out because it'll probably just reverse on you. But now you got a potential amplification. SPY is coming up into a potential Pika stack again. So SPY is just range bound. I think what's going to happen here is that SPY might slow down, but Qs is probably going to move way better. So let's see. You get your move up. So like probably right here.
Yeah, like when you get that retest, or you see that retest with that doji candle, that's where I would
Doji candle.
yeah, I would take risk off before you get up to that node, but then like once you see that doji form, like that's my trail, and then as you get strong 5 minute candles, I'm just trailing up through there.
Yeah, you'd probably just trail, and just ride it up. I think your final TP here is going to be to IB low back with VWAP because SPY is coming back into a
Yeah,
Pika stack again, so it's going to be a sticky price action. Let's see. I wouldn't even be surprised if we test
there's
back
your
to
IV
IB
low.
low here and they dump it again. SPX is not really looking like it. Damn.
Rips through VWAP.
Squeeze through.
But you still have
7-4.
yeah, you have that
Yeah.
741. You have
741,
690.
7430.
And but then you also have
Like
that
you got these two
74.
negatives.
You have 7425 and 7430. So like you could see some rejection there.
You're definitely going to see some resistance in this zone right here. Like SPX and SPY seem to lead pretty well today. Like had more of a better rejections. And they put in the 739. They're trying to put in a 739 floor here.
Yeah, hold that VWAP. If that doesn't hold, like if as that comes down to VWAP, I'd see okay, does it bounce at
Second break.
VWAP? Yeah, does it bounce at VWAP or does it rip through VWAP again? Because another thing you see with VWAP a lot is like you get a strong move through that VWAP. If they don't hold it there, then they're gonna rip it back below and send it lower.
Yeah. Yeah, because also like if I'm looking for a trade here, the 741 is gonna be like resistance and SPX has all these resistance up here too, so I'd probably be out of my longs. Like here now that we're getting below this king node at 739, and we're probably gonna get the double break now that we are gonna it looks like we're just gonna accelerate straight through VWAP. But to be honest, I think your day's done.
Yeah.
Like I call it after that.
What's
Literally
the
count both sides. You
draw
count the
draw the fib from the top to the bottom? Just see like where
like the
that
whole
retraces.
session.
Yeah, yeah, where it retraces to. Yeah, it's right at 618. You gotta slap 382 on there so you can see the 618 on the reverse side. So
I
yeah,
just
so
draw
you don't
backwards.
even so you don't even gotta do that. Yeah, it's that 618 too. So like if you're just looking for the 618 short, you could short it there. Like when it pops up and then
And
it
you probably
fails.
just stop above here now.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And just trade it back down towards that 690.
No way they make it that easy, right?
I mean, it rejects
Just back to
VWAP.
IV VWAP. Like if we don't hold here, then this is just gonna just blow straight through again.
Yeah, like
But I
you
think
could either take the short, like when it pops, you have that consolidation and it pops up and then immediately rejects. You could take it off the rejection, or you could wait for it to
yeah
get back through VWAP and then take it off the VWAP rejection.
yeah I think we reject here anyways just because SPY has the ceiling
Yeah,
being set here
739.
and 790 is also lit and
Yeah, you
Q's
can have a
lost
tight ass
most of
stop
his
on that
upside.
too.
Q's lost most of his upside while SPY also lost all those strong positives. And SPX just has air pockets. I think 790 gets hit. Give us 790 now.
You mean 690?
790 back with 7380 on SPX too.
Oh, 7390. Yeah, I mean, you get close to that 690 area.
And you could still just you'd probably be tight on the stop here.
Yeah, I'd be out there. Like that to me, like that's enough of the TP. But like it does
There's your
hit.
TP.
It does hit. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
but you know it'd be funny here too. Is
They
if they pump it back up to
they
VWAP
bounce it back.
and
They
they
bounce it back
set
to
it lower.
VWAP.
I think they bounce it back to VWAP here.
End of day.
Let's see. SPY has his Pika stack and they short it back down. Like they just obliterate it. Let's see. Maybe it just dies. Wait. I don't know. I've noticed at the end of day, VWAP's like an insane magnet towards like
It can be.
We don't get VWAP. SPY, SPX actually I'd even pick up. It hit their king nodes. You could have played the confluence or your stop above the 692 here on Qs.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier, where it's like sometimes you just have SPY nodes to base like your QQQ price action off of.
Let's see, does Qs hit 688?
They rip it end of day.
Oh, that's close. Damn.
They get it back above that 690.
SPY 736.
Yeah, they rip it back above that 690 and then just pump it end of day. That's crazy.
Crazy day, man.
Yeah. All right, dope. It's been like 2.5 hours, and I'm hungry, so I'm gonna call it.
What do you guys think of Scarlet though? Is that not enough marketing skills? You guys are invested, right? Yeah, we just back tested with it. Yeah, Baron's got you guys with a 50% discount code.
Do I? I don't got a 50% discount code. I know the
Nah, he'll get one. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We'll make sure he gets one.
Okay, cool. Any questions before we call it here? I'm gonna get this uploaded on YouTube. I'll probably have to like trim some of it out, like the giveaway and stuff like that. But yeah.
Wait, here I'm gonna drop this in chat because I saw some people say they didn't really understand. Skylight has a whole like docs page, so if you guys are willing to learn and read up on it, you got a lot of information there about like everything that we just went over. So I'll catch you, Baron. Thank you for having me on.
Also, on your like, have you fed your Claude like those docs, the Academy docs?
Oh yeah, it has it all.
Is it better? Is it better with the? Right? Is it better with the Academy docs?
I gave it everything. I gave it all the academies, like all glitches, YouTube. I fed it everything.
I needed a feed. I need to go transcribe all glitches videos and feed it that.
Yeah, transcribe everything. Go take Wix, Nico's, just put everything in it. Okay. Build a powerhouse.
Yeah.
And then when agents come out, you build your strategy off of that. And then
yeah, dude, the agents are gonna be crazy. Giveaway. I already ran the giveaway, Boogie.
Yeah, you can take away my role too, by the way. I'll catch you.
All right, bro. Okay, cool. I will see you guys for Sunday Open. If you look up glitch trades on YouTube, you should be able to find it. 30% off code for Skylight. Let me get back to you guys on that one. I should be able to get one for you guys. All right. Well, I will see you guys later.